Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today's special guest is Dr. Cornetta Mosley. Netta, how are you?
Hello, Chris. I'm great. How about you?
Appreciate you coming on to the podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk about running today.
That's exactly what we're going to do. And, it's funny is I just interviewed Theo. He's one of the founders or the founder of Run It Up and stuff. And I was like, give me more people to interview and talk to. And your name came up. And so I appreciate you getting on so quickly. This is really exciting. And so let's get into it. Tell me a little bit about you and just what you do, and then let's get into your journey of running.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Theo for recommending me because I love talking about running. Theo founded Run It Up Dallas, and I am the run captain for the run group. That is my after five life, before nine and after five life. But between the runs and the run group activities, I am a professor. I work at the University of Texas at Dallas, and I teach audiology, which is hearing science. Yeah, it's a doctoral program for people who want to help people with hearing loss and balance problems. I teach anywhere from the doctoral students to master's students in speech pathology and also undergrad students.
That's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
By the way, I didn't tell you this before the show, but I was at Lake Highlands High School this morning, and I live right over there, or really close. And I was running, and I ran into Sterling and a guy named Malcolm,
Yeah.
and they were like, and I know Sterling through more of Instagram. I guess he follows the show, whatever. It's the first time we met. He goes, yeah, I know you. You do the podcast and stuff. He goes, who are you going to interview? Who's coming up? I was like, I think it's Cornetta or something. I didn't know who you were. And he goes, she lives here. She runs, or she used to run Lake Highlands High School and stuff like that. And so anyways, I thought I'd bring that up. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you saw those two there because we all went to Lake Highlands at the same time. So, yeah, the three of us went to Lake Highlands High School. I've known Sterling since I was, oh my gosh, since I was little. We ran summer
Wow.
track together. And so, yeah, I've been a part of a running community for pretty much my whole life. It's taken a whole lot of different shapes and forms, but it's always been there. It's the most successful relationship I've had with anything or anyone.
I understand. I understand. Let's talk about that. So when did you start running? Would you run? What kind of got you interested?
Yeah, so I started running when I was in 3rd grade. I started running track.
Okay.
I ran summer track and I ran track for when I was in junior high as well as high school. I did not run track in college. I went to LSU, so the bars are really high for running track at
Hmm.
LSU. And I was a decent athlete, but I wasn't competitive enough to get a scholarship or anything. I was a hurdler. I did relays, long jump, triple jump.
Did you, like in high school, did you do more sprints, or was it the long distance, or what?
Yeah, I did sprints. I was a hurdler,
Okay.
so I did the 100-meter
Just hurdling.
hurdles. Yeah, I did relays, so I do the 400-meter relay, the 4x1. I do the 4x2 sometimes, and if they needed someone for the 4x4, I was able to do it, but that was not I was not a 400 runner. I also did long jump and triple jump, so I was more a technical runner.
All right. So you ran technically. That's pretty hard to do the hurdles and stuff like that. And I'm sure,
Oh, yeah.
man, I would fall every time. But did you start? So you went to college, you didn't run. In college, did you start thinking about long distance at all? Where did that fall into?
Yeah, so I went to LSU for undergrad, and when I
Hmm.
was there, I found my relationship with running morphed. So I had been this like hurdler, sprinter, and then I started looking at running as just a means of exercise without the racing, without the conditioning and track work, sprint drills. And LSU has this series of lakes around campus, and you can do a loop around the lakes. And I just started running the lakes, and I found it so relaxing, and I enjoyed just having the time to zone out and just be. I always say that when I think about, like, how my brain works during running, when I throughout the day, my brain's like a computer. I'm processing information, I'm spitting things out, I'm encoding and reorganizing and doing all these things, but when I run, my brain is a remote control. It's just pump your arms, lift your
Yeah.
knees, push forward. It's just and that time is really freeing for me because I always have been a busy person. I've been in tons of organizations and if played sports throughout my entire life. And I enjoyed having that. I enjoy having that time to just run. And I can't think about anything. So that started to develop when around those lakes at LSU. Sometimes I would run with friends, but I mainly ran them by myself.
What were you running? Was it just a few miles here and there? What was what?
Yeah, it started off very chill. I would do the lake. The lakes are about, I think they're 4 to 5 miles around. And it started out just running them maybe once a week. And there was one summer that I lived on campus and I started running them almost every day. So
Would you get bored or something or what?
I did not get bored. I enjoyed it and I would run them differently. But and I didn't think about running the way that I do now that I'm like a run coach.
Yeah.
I just thought about running as a way to escape and also to challenge myself and see what my body could do. So sometimes I would run them slowly. Sometimes I would do what I now know is a fartlek, where it's just unstructured speed work. And I enjoyed just seeing how fast I could do it, seeing how my body felt in the process before and after, and ultimately just seeing how my body changed over the course of that summer. So it was a
So
really
interesting.
cool experience.
Did you do any 5Ks, 10Ks, or anything like that during that time, or what? What'd that look like?
Not a single race. Not a
Really?
single race as an undergrad. No, nope, not a single race. I don't believe I did my first K, like a race, until I moved up to Seattle. And my first 5K was the color run. Have you heard of that?
I have. They've had some of that in Dallas or in the past, long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Was it
was
when
my
they
first.
spray you with stuff? It's like some weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did something like that a long time ago. So I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was probably, oh my gosh, I was a grad student. I was probably 24 when
Okay.
I ran my first race, fish at like non-track race,
So that was
5K,
just a
just to
year
see
ago,
it.
then, right?
Yeah, just like a couple months ago, actually. But yeah, I was a grown adult when I started racing.
Now. Do you love racing, or what is that? You don't have to tell me what that looks like yet, but did you like that? What does that look like for you?
It was fun. I did enjoy racing because it brought back a little bit of that track aspect to it. But it is, when I raced back then, it felt a whole lot different than it does now that I actually train. Back
Yeah,
then, it was just like,
yeah.
I want to be able to complete the distance and I get medal. But now I'm like, ooh, I wonder if I can get top three, or
Mhm.
place in my age. So it's the expectations are a little bit higher now, or the level at which I'm racing is higher than it was when I started, which was just for fun and for a challenge and also to just give myself something to look forward to.
So your long distance journey started in college, 4 or 5 miles. That's not a little amount, especially if you're doing it 4 or 5 times a week at some point. That's what, 25 miles a week or plus, whatever else you did. So how did that morph? What did that look like after college? You said you moved to Seattle or
Yeah, I moved up to Seattle. I went to grad school at the University of Washington in Seattle.
okay.
And a beautiful place, by the way. And Seattle is a very outdoorsy place.
Mhm.
So, when I would run the lakes at LSU, there would be a few people out there, but running an area like Green Lake in Seattle, it was just on a beautiful day, it was packed. I
Yeah.
mean, it's raining 9 months out of the year. So the 3 months where
Nobody
it's nice,
cares.
people are outside. Yeah. There were more, I'd say that when I moved to Seattle, I met more people who would run with me. It was not to the extent that it is now here in Dallas with the full-on running community, but I did have people who would that like, my friends are the people who told me about different races. I think I did the Color Run and maybe, like, a St. Patty's Day Dash and,
Okay.
Christmas 10K. I remember my first 10K. I trained for, like, a month for my first 10K, and I was like, "Oh, man, I
Not
could
bad.
run a 5K. I have to add half a mile to my long run every week." And yeah,
I
yeah.
remember, so I'll give you a little story here just because it's fun is, so I was about 25 pounds overweight or something back in my mid 30s. And I've got a twin brother and he's like, dude, you got to do something. Go run, please exercise. You got to do it. We went through a divorce at the time. And he was like, I was like, "All right." So I started jogging and my goal was at first, and I've told this story before, but was a mile a day for 5 days straight. And I can allow myself to walk run the first 4 days. And then Saturday or Friday, I wanted to run the whole thing, not hard, just jog it, whatever, and going through that. Anyways, I think I run a 5K or something eventually after 4 or 5 weeks. And then my brother, he was in the Air Force and he was coming home for a little bit. And he goes, "Hey, literally like that." He goes, "Tomorrow I'm running a 10K. You need to sign up." And I was thinking, a 10K? No way. I'm not even ready for that. And I ran it. I beat him. And so that was
Wow.
good. And then I realized that I could do more than I thought. And so that was good. So it's cool that you got into that 10K. And so tell me more about that.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't really stick out in my head as a super significant event. Looking back on it was because it taught me that I could do more, but I never doubted that I could do a 10K. I just needed to put in the work to do it. I'd say that what that process did teach me was the discipline required to stick to a training plan. And ironically enough, I ran that race with a friend and she had so much going on that day. We ended up being super late and missed the race. So
No,
we missed the race. And we just get out there and run it anyway. They had torn down the start and everything. There was very last person was probably halfway through the route by the time we started. And we still ran it. I don't think we got a medal. I don't think we're timed or
still.
anything. It was just like, you know what? We trained for this. We're gonna do it. So that was a funny moment. But I knew at that point I didn't even care about not getting timed or the medal because I
Yeah.
knew that it was my time to run this race and I was ready for it. And I proved to myself that I could.
Super dedicated. I'd have been like, all right, maybe next time or something. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. See, that is a good story. I like that. I went out and did it anyways. It was late or whatever. All right, you did that 10K. And did you start doing more or what was a thing from Seattle to Dallas? Is that kind of how that worked? Or I don't know.
You know what? At that point, I just ran to run. Like it's always been so intrinsic for me. Distance running is it's my preferred mode of exercise. I'm not a big gym girl. I go to the gym because I know I need to be strong to be a better runner, but I just like running.
That's
And
good.
so I would run. There was Burt Gilman Trail. That was a very popular trail in Seattle. I would run the Burt Gilman, and I ran one of the most significant runs was like a 10-miler, and I ran to this place called I can't remember the name of this hilly area, but I ran 5 miles to this hilly area, ran some hills, and then ran back. And I felt so accomplished for doing 10 miles, and I didn't train for it or anything.
It's a lot,
I just was feeling good,
especially on
and
a
I
trail.
did it.
Was it a paved trail or what was the trail like?
Yeah, it's a paved running trail.
Okay.
It wasn't like forest trail. No,
Would you
I
ever do a
hiked a
forest
lot.
trail?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I've
fun.
thought about it.
It's
You've
fun.
done trail races
A lot
before?
of trails. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? How are your ankles? Like,
I think ankles are fine. I think the only thing you have to worry about really is you have to worry more. I say worry. You have to pay attention more. It's not the groove running that you're used to, 5K, 10K, and marathon, whatever you're running, you can just get in the zone. With trail running, it's fun because it's a lot less forceful on your legs and knees, but it's also you have to concentrate a lot more because depending on the terrain, you don't want to trip over a rock or big stick or so you got to watch that. But it's fun. It's just a different atmosphere. You're going to be a lot slower and a lot more tired at the end in general, depending on the trail. But if it's a paved trail, it's just what it is. But so, yeah, I don't know. I think you should think about doing do a small one, do a 5K. Or nobody says you have to go and do a half marathon or something right off. It's kind of like whenever you start running for the first time, go run a 5K. Don't do, something extravagant at first. And then I think you'll like it. It's different.
I do hiking. I like hiking a lot, but I'm wearing like thick boots that support my ankles. I'm bow-legged, so my ankles are I need some support, and that's what scares me. And I'm not the
Yeah.
most I tend to be accident prone, so I'm a little nervous about trail running, but I have thought more about it now that I'm just more exposed to trail races, and they seem pretty, can I say badass? They seem pretty
Yeah. You can say
okay.
badass.
Yeah, they seem pretty badass,
Say
so
whatever you want. They're cool. It's a different atmosphere, different vibe, and it's pretty cool. I would tell you to check out like Blaze Trails. They've got all these different trail races within somewhat of the DFW area. Finding a trail here is hard, but there's one in November. I think they have a 5K, 15K. I don't know. Maybe they don't have a 5K, but it's a 15K and a 30K. These trails get really long, like 100 milers and things. But there's one in Grapevine in November that they do. That's really cool. So I might think about it this year. We'll see. Anyways, digress. Apologies, but trail running's fun. Bring that up every now and then to folks on the podcast. But so you start running quite a bit. Get this 10-miler done. What went on after that?
yeah, so after that, I just kept running. I feel like Forrest Gump.
I was about to say, I just kept running.
I just kept running just became my thing. It was just my mode of exercise. Like I like to stay fit. I like the challenge of running. I like showing up and being bad at something one day and then working towards it and being good
Exactly.
another
I
day.
love that.
I like the input output of it. So growing up, I came up in an environment that was unpredictable. Good thing you could do good and bad things happen. You could do bad and good things happen. But with certain aspects of my life, like my profession and also with running, I felt if you do good, you get good. If you do bad, you get bad. And I love the security and the certainty with it. So I just kept running. I finished grad school and I moved back to the South. I lived in Mobile, Alabama. Nobody
Okay.
runs there. Not a lot of runners.
Nope.
Not a lot of
I would
runners in
think not.
Mobile. Yeah, so
What'd you do in Mobile?
that was my first faculty position at the
Okay.
University of South Alabama. I lived downtown and I would just run all around the city and people would see me out there and just
What's this
run.
girl running? Nobody does that here.
Nobody does that. Nobody does that in Mobile. But as I said, it was just my thing. It was my preferred mode of exercise. And I skipped a place. I lived in Biloxi, Mississippi for a bit and I would run
Wow.
along the beach. Yeah, I would
Would
run
that be
along.
kind of nice? The beach?
It was the water was never to this day have touched that water with any part of my body, but the beach is gorgeous. It has this beautiful white sand and it was pretty windy, which was tough, but that was
Yeah.
just
You didn't get in the
another
water?
obstacle. No, some people
Is it
did. Like it's
is it
not for me.
nasty there or something? Or
Yes, it's
oh,
like
okay.
it's like green. I don't know. There's green water that's like algae, but I think at some point it had a flesh eating amoeba in it or something like fresh flesh
Hell
eating
no.
bacteria. It wasn't water that you get in. But I don't get in a lot of lakes. I think that's just me. I like being in water. Like and when I went to Orange
At the pool,
Beach,
maybe.
well, yes, the pool, but also not Gulfport, Orange Beach and Pensacola. I get in those beaches
Okay.
because the water was
Yeah.
clear, it was clean,
Yeah.
but Biloxi, it's right in the Gulf and it just
Yeah.
is not
It's just
nice
nasty.
water.
Well,
The
it's kinda
pool.
like Galveston, you can get it. It's got a lot of oil in it and a bunch of other shit. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't get in Galveston water. See, I would run along the beach just like I did in Biloxi
Yeah.
and enjoy the sand and the wind and the smell of water without getting in it. But yeah, I just ran. I just ran as my form of exercise. In Mobile, I did a couple of races, like a couple of 5Ks, but even then, not a ton. But oh no, I'm lying. When I lived in Mobile, that's when I trained for my first half.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you run a half in Mobile?
I ran it in New Orleans. It was the
Okay.
rock and roll New Orleans half. That was my first half marathon, and it was so much fun. And again, that was my first time like having a structured running plan. I think
Mhm.
I found it somewhere online, and I used a Nike Running Club app.
Yep.
Man, Coach, have you ever used that before?
Long time ago, yeah.
Okay, do you know Coach Bennett?
No, but I've heard about him. Yeah.
Yeah, Coach Bennett, he's one of the coaches who does, like, these guided runs on Nike, and I felt like he would just be in your ear telling you what to do, and it's linked to your watch, and
Yeah.
so they would tell you when to slow down, speed up.
Now, I remember so back in the day, my phone had the Nike app. This is before Garmin was even tells you how old I am. But that was kind of the first app I had, and I would wear headphones, and it'd be like it would go to Facebook or something like that, and if somebody liked it, it would go yay like on the Nike app, and I'm like, all right, somebody liked this. Let's get some more likes or something,
That's
you
cool.
know?
While you were running?
Yeah, while I was running, because what it would do is it would, I guess, go onto the Facebook or whatever and say, Chris is now running whatever. And somehow, I don't know, and then somebody would like it or whatever. And then you'd get the yay in your ear because you have some music and everything. And so, anyways, that's another digress, but it still was weird. But that's whenever I used it back in the day. They didn't have coaching
Yeah.
then, but then they try to add to it, I think.
Okay, yeah. When I use it, I use the guided runs heavily. And Coach Bennett, he's a rambler. And so it worked out for long runs, just listening to somebody ramble. I
That's
listen to
funny.
his podcast now as well. But yeah, I trained for my first half. I did the Crescent City Classic, I'm sorry, I did the rock and roll half. I also did the Crescent City Classic, which is a 10K, but that was my first half. And I was like, oh yeah, this was awesome. I'm never
So,
running a
how'd you do?
marathon though.
What was your
Well, the
time? How'd you do for the first?
I did surprisingly well. My time was either a 2:01 or a
Okay.
2:04.
It's
It was
pretty
somewhere
impressive for
in
your
that
first one.
range.
That's really good.
And I was running by myself. I didn't have a running community,
Exactly.
so it was just me and the elements when Mobile's really hot and it got really cold in the winter. So yeah, I was very satisfied. I was really happy about that. And after finishing the rock and roll half, I actually ran that with a friend who lived in New Orleans and she had moved out. She's from New Orleans, but she lived in DC and she moved back to New Orleans. And after the race, we met up with some of her friends who ran with, I think they were with DRC, the District Running Collective. And that was my first time being exposed to run group community. And it felt just like track. I was like, "Man, that's
Mhm.
really cool. I wish I
It's
had
on.
that." Yeah, yeah, and I started just looking at run groups on Instagram, and I found out about run group in Dallas. When I first moved, I was a part of ZFT Run Club,
Yep.
and a lot of my friends were.
Big one.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of my friends were a part of that run group, and as soon as I moved to Dallas on Wednesday. That day, I went to run group. I was like, "No, I have
Nice.
to
Got to meet
do
some people.
this," and I've been a part of the run community ever since, and Theo started Run It Up. I saw that he had such a large following of people. There were so many people who were interested in running and wanted the community and wanted to be around other runners, but they didn't know much about running. And so I
Yeah.
was like, okay, you got the substance. Let me create some structure to it. And when I started as a run captain, that was my job. I became a certified running coach. I did my RRCA adult running coach certification. I created all of our training plans. I created like a detailed training guide that tells them about what the different types of runs are. It has links to all the different training plans for different distances and different levels. I offer like training tips and workshops for our runners. And yeah, it's been really a cool experience.
So let's dive into that in a minute. I want to dive more into that because I think that's huge since you brought that up. But let's go back a little bit because you mentioned that you ran that half marathon. Did you ever think about running a marathon in between that? Or was it just, look, I'm just going to do some half marathons? And what has that been like?
Absolutely not. I did that half marathon. I was like, why would I do that again? What? No, that's not for me. This was enough. I was walking stiff. I was like, no, I will surprise myself if I do another half marathon. Like I checked this off of my box. I like running. I want to keep liking running. And I don't think I
Yeah.
would like to run a.
Marathon's hard. I've done three of them. It was like my last one was 10 years ago. I'm a
Okay.
marathon, like racing and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's just too much training for me. And it's just, I get mad all the time. And my wife was like, look, you don't have to run marathons.
Yeah.
I was like,
So
deal. I'm running half marathons.
that was where I was at the time, but since then it's changed. I'm running my 3rd marathon this year and my first one.
Okay. Oh, let's not get
Yeah, I
away.
know. I
All
know.
right. All right. All right. You ran your half marathon. We're going to get to your marathons now. We'll talk about running up in a bit. And you get to Dallas. What year was that? And you got to Dallas. Do you remember?
I came here in 23.
Okay. So it's going to help me keep things straight. And
Mhm.
you decide that you're running with ZFT. And then you're like, oh, there's Theo. He's got this really cool thing going on. How can I be part of that? And then you became part of that. And then you're creating some training plans for, I guess, 5Ks, 10, just in general, maybe even halves. I don't know. But just some training plans for people just to say, hey, this is what I should run. Okay. Now, so you've run 3 marathons from 20 to now or about to. So let's
Mhm.
talk about that and what got you into that. At first, you're like, never, I'm going to do that. But what kind of got you into that? I'm interested.
Alright. There was a little bit of gap in the timeline. So Run It Up started in 2024. Run It Up just
Yeah,
started last year. So
that's right.
at this time, I was still running with the other run group, CFT, and we that was my first time being around so many runners
Yeah,
who were peers and friends,
got
and
it.
I started training for a half, like, immediately. As soon as I came, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do the half with you guys. I'll start training." So I trained, I ran the half, and in the process of that training, I'm seeing so many of my friends who I'm training with, and they're training for a full, and I'm like, "But we run together."
I'm
If
gonna miss
we
them.
run together, if you can do it, that must mean I have a chance of doing it, and I
Mm,
like running with you, so maybe it won't be so bad, the training process, and so I dipped my toe and I did my first full I decided to do my first full marathon at a brunch after a run. They were all talking about it, and they're like, "Netta, you need to do the full, you need to do the full," because I was a strong runner. And I'm like, "No, I have no desire." I did the half, and I couldn't imagine saying,
doing
halfway
it twice.
done, just gotta go back." No, I don't wanna do that.
Yeah,
But the more I saw them pushing and the fact that they'd done it before, I was like, "All right, I can do it. Okay, I'll do 1 marathon just to check my box," just like I said
yeah.
about my first half, right? Like, "All right, I'll do a marathon. I'll do BMW with you guys in December." So I did it. I did BMW December 2023, and I said, I'm never doing another marathon again. I am not ever doing that. The
What'd you
training is
do?
so long." I did okay. I did not do as well as I wanted to. I ended with a 4:20
Mm.
something, so it wasn't super fast, and I crashed at the end. I started cramping up, and
So
yeah.
let's talk about nutrition and hydration and all of that. What did
Mm,
you know
yeah,
about that
absolutely.
then? What did you know and what didn't you know and what'd you learn? I'm just
Mhm.
curious because a lot of people, it's funny, people will ask me, Chris, I learned so much on this podcast when you talked about some nutrition or because a lot of people do the same thing you did in the first minute. We all do that. Like we
Wow.
all crash or balk, whatever. What'd you learn? What'd you do? You know what I mean? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the primary mistake with my initial marathon was my training. I wasn't running enough. I was running maybe 4 times a week, and I was stacking my runs. So on weekends, I'd do a timed long run, like an hour and a half easy run, and then the next day do my long run, which would be we peaked at 22 miles. And so now that I'm a run coach, I know that your training has to be far more balanced. If you're doing a 22-mile long run, throughout the week, you should be running at least 22 miles. That should not be more than 50% of your weekly mileage. Your long run shouldn't. And I just wasn't running enough. So when it came time to put that much effort based on distance and the speed at which I was running, it just wasn't, it forced me into a space that I had not pushed myself to before in the training. As far as nutrition, I think I got that down pretty easily. I still use the same strategy as far as fuel. I do gels. For my longer runs, I may have a granola bar or something, but every 3 to 4 miles, I'm taking something in. One thing that I have learned since then was the importance of salt tabs, either through pickle juice or just the salt stick or whatever, just getting more electrolytes in and not being afraid to fuel and drink. Like people act like if you feed your body while you're exerting all of this effort, then you're weak. I'm like, no, they now even some of my trainees, they ask, oh, I don't need that. I can get through it. I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to feel good. If you give your body what it needs, it will feel so much better. Just do it. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger.
Yeah, a lot of us is that's an interesting point that you bring up because if you think about it as some of us grew up and if we're in football or track or whatever, coaches would say things like, you don't need water. You just go do it. You'll get water afterwards. Or so it's that kind of mentality that I think that some people have. And now we know that this is not the right thing. You got to
Mhm.
fuel your body. You got to have the salt. You got to have the electrolytes. You got to have water. You got to eat. Those are just the important things. And if you don't, you're not going to have your best race in general. You're
Right.
just not. I mean,
Right.
most people aren't. Some people are maybe phenomenons and all of a sudden they do, but you won't. You're just not. I like that you said that.
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't fuel during your training, don't try to fuel during your race because you're gonna mess yourself up. And that's the most important thing. You're gonna be holding down one of those water potties if you don't, and sometimes even if you do fuel properly, it's just how life works. But they
That's how races work. I do.
Yeah, but fueling is I have learned, but I also learned which ones I can and can't do. I can't do caffeinated gels. So yeah, I learned quite a bit over the course of my time. But the primary mistake I made during the training for my first marathon was just not running enough.
Yeah. I think the miles are key. I've talked to a lot of people on this podcast that are running really fast marathons, 240s, 230s, whatever. And they're at another level, right?
Mhm.
They run a lot of miles. A lot of those folks are running 80, 90 to 100 miles a week, right? And to be able and to there is something behind the miles. So doing enough miles to get to your I'm not telling people to do 100 miles a week. That I think that's ridiculous. But for them, there's some science behind that, right? 30 or
What
40
do they
miles a week is good.
what do those people do
Yeah.
life for their professions? How can you run that much and work?
They work and some of them have kids and everything else, but a lot of them are doing 2-a-days, right? And so they get up early in the morning, they do that, and then they'll tend to whatever they've got to throughout the day work. Some of them work from home, and then they'll go out at night and do another run, right? I wouldn't say that group is called the sloths. A lot of those folks, not every one of them, but that group is intense on their running. You've got some way over here, and then you get some way over here. And to me, it's a balance. I'm 50 years old, going to be running, I'm running 35 to 40 miles a week. That's really my limit. It's what my body wants. And I can run a fast half marathon, really fast. But I don't care about marathons. If I do a marathon, I'll probably hit 50 to 60 miles a week with some speed and hills and whatever, that kind of thing. But you're right. I think there's something said for the more miles you can build that up, you got to have that base for a marathon. You have to. You have to.
For sure,
So,
for sure. Yeah,
so it's
and people
good.
don't wanna run easy. Yeah. People don't wanna run easy. I think that was and that should be that's what builds your base is easy running, but people wanna they wanna have the sexy splits and the intense fartlek runs and all these things, nice tempo runs, but really it's the foundation is gonna be just those easy miles, time on feet.
That's right. Time on feet. I think that's the 101 stuff, but a lot of people don't know that. And so it's good that you're there to teach them. I think that's great. And you run your first marathon and you kind of balk and didn't want to do it again. So what next? What happened?
Yeah. When I became a running coach, I learned more about what training should look like and how to run efficiently. I'm a scientist, so learning more about the science behind it really did make me look at marathon training in a different way. I knew that I could do it without breaking down. I knew that I could do it safely and enjoy the process at some point. And yeah,
At
I
some point,
just
that's right.
so I started training again for my most recent. You know what? Last year I trained for a half, but I ended up getting injured. That was my first injury, and I thought I was invincible. I was like, all these people get injured. I don't get injured. I do yoga every day. I'm fine. But I ended up with a knee injury and it took me out of my race for last November. And so that was an experience in itself. It definitely taught me a lot about the psychology behind injury and not being able to run,
Yeah.
especially with me. I'm like the run captain of this huge run group, and I'm training these people, and they're training for their full and their halves. So I'm there every day leading them, but I can't join them on the journey. I can't run with them. So that was, I'll be blunt about it because
Of course. It's
it was
tough.
such a big part of my life. And yeah, I just couldn't
We've all
engage
gone
with
through it,
running.
by the way. We've all gone through it.
Yeah.
You've
What
been
was
doing it
yours?
long enough. I think for me, so I was running this 2 years ago for me. So I was running really fast on some of the halves. I went to this downhill half and ran like a 128. And so I was really excited. I got a coach to help me to get to my goal was 125 at some point. My goal was to hit under 130 before I hit 50, but I did that. And then I ran Houston, but I think it was Houston. But
Chevron?
and then my Achilles started, I think I ran a 131 there, but my Achilles started hurting really bad.
Mm,
For the next 5 or 6 months, what I found out was mostly the shoes. So I was wearing those plated shoes and the carbon plated shoes, and I love them, but my Achilles didn't love them. So I stopped
mm,
wearing those, did the kind of exercises, kind of stopped running, got out of the community a little bit. And I think that injury it's just something that's going to happen. And you got to try to figure out how to. It wasn't my first injury, by the way. I was going places, I was doing really good things, and then I get injured. And so, literally, for 6 months, and probably longer, it hurt, but it started getting better because I stopped wearing those shoes and slowly but surely just got better. But it took a long time, a really long time.
yeah.
And I think that you just have to look, you got to think of other things. You start thinking, well, maybe I can work out or cycle, or there's other things you can do. But it's hard as a runner because that's all I do. I don't really do
Yeah.
much else.
Yeah. You preaching to the choir for sure.
Yeah, we all have gone through it though. And I think that that's part of the journey. And it hopefully makes you a better runner. At the very least, it helps you to become understanding of others. Injury is real.
Absolutely. And understanding of yourself,
Yep,
just
of course.
because I felt like I was doing enough because I was doing yoga every day, that my body needed more and I wasn't listening to it. I thought I was because I wasn't always in that much pain, but I wasn't doing enough. At the level that I started running, I needed more. I needed cupping and foam rolling, at least foam rolling. Now I foam roll pretty much every day. So foam rolling and very targeted mobility work. And I just needed more than I was giving myself. And it sat me down and made me reflect. But the beginning of this year is when I did my second full. I did rock and roll again, Nashville.
Okay. Wow.
That one was, have you heard about that one?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've not done it, but
Oh, it's
yeah.
a dog of a race. It's a
Really?
dog of a race. Yeah, it was tough. I wanted to get at least a sub 4. I did not hit sub 4. I was at like a
Okay.
404. But man, when I tell you that race was poorly advertised and super
Right,
hilly.
right.
I knew it had some elevation to it, but when I looked at the elevation map, it was mainly in the beginning. There were some rolling hills throughout, but what I didn't know at the very end, I think it was miles 20 through 24-ish, and like the most egregious, aggressive hills you will ever see. And you're already dead. That's when the race
Yeah.
starts. Like you're already dead by then or near death. And then you have these hills that just snatch the rest of your soul away. It was to the
Mhm.
point like I'm running up a hill and it has a switchback. So you switch back and the hill is like it's more hill
Yep.
and more
Mhm.
steep.
Been
And
there.
there were like 3 or 4 of those back to back. And I was done. There were It was like warfare. There were people like just running to the side and like laying down on the ground, just like falling out in the middle of the course. It was so bad. It was so bad. But I still finished. And in that race, I did started cramping up because I didn't take enough electrolytes because it was warm. It was warmer than I expected. And just with the hill, the terrain was just really rough. So I made it through, and that was the first time that I've ever had, like, the noodle legs at the end of a race.
Mhm.
So I stopped, and my legs just started to quake, and a couple of women come and try to, like, get me a wheelchair. I'm like, "No, I don't need a wheelchair." I just kept standing.
I just need crutches.
I just need a give me a cart or some but I ended up walking off. I didn't collapse. I didn't fall. I kept my legs under me. And yeah, I was very proud to have finished that. Didn't perform to the extent, I didn't perform the way that I wanted to. And I was surprised by the hills. But that race taught me the importance of just mental agility and adjusting.
But
It
Netta,
was,
let's be realistic. And one, we as runners are hard on ourselves by too much. Two is you PR'd by like almost 20 minutes
yeah,
on a pretty tough course and hot day.
yes, yes,
Just because you didn't hit your what you think you should have hit and a goal of under 4 hours, which is I understand, but there are other races. And it's only your second race. It's only your
yeah, for
second
sure,
marathon. And
for
so
sure.
to me, there's a lot of progress right there. And all the things that you just told me. And you should be proud. No, you probably are. I would be very proud of that. And I'm amazed. Like you did almost 20 minutes better than you did the first time. That's huge progress.
Of course, and I'm not discounting the fact that
Yeah.
I got better. I trained better and I was prepared really well. I really did put my all into that training block. What the race taught me though was when it comes to my mental state, I felt so confident at the beginning and when the times got hard, my confidence just
Yeah.
plummeted. And oh my gosh, the 4 hour pacer ran by me on one of those hills and I like put my last into it. I'm like, no, I have to catch up with him. But by then it was all gone. And it just taught me the importance of what it taught me was that even if you feel like you have nothing left, as long as you're moving forward, you're moving in the right direction. So even though it hurt, even though I was cramping up, even though I had all these thoughts in my head about how I wanted to get sub 4 and seeing the sub 4 or the 4 hour pacer pass me up, I knew that I had it in me to keep going. And my experience with being injured the following year, I was like, okay, all these people are watching me. My team is tracking me on this run. They've trained with me. They've rooted for me. Like I owe it to them to just keep pushing. I owe it to myself after all the time that I put into this to keep pushing, even when it's ugly, even when it's disappointing, still have it in you to keep going. And that's what ultimately got me through.
Yeah, I think you have to do that. And I think that's a great lesson learned. I mean, great lesson learned about yourself. You learn that you could probably do a little bit more than you thought and you can get
Mhm.
past that no matter how hard it is. I could go run a 5 miler and it's a race. And that last mile, every single time, I don't know, I just want to quit. This
Yeah.
sucks.
Right.
Certainly a
Everything.
marathon. And
Oh,
yeah,
go
I mean,
ahead.
even certainly a marathon, right? You really got to push through it. And there's a lot. So that's a really awesome lesson.
Yeah, every time I run a 10K, I see the turnaround for the 5K folks. I was like, man, that could be me right now. I could be
Yes.
halfway done.
Same. I think that too. What's next for you from a marathon? You said you got another one planned. What does that look like?
Yes, I just got a bib for the New York City Marathon. So it will be
Hey,
my first world major. So I'll be going there in November. And
nice.
yeah, that was a really cool. I'm super excited about that. I'm grateful to have gotten in. Strava pulled some strings for me and was able to get a bib for me. We have a Run It Up has a partnership with Strava. And yeah, it was just, yeah, I'm super excited. It's my first world major. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to world majors, I have an idea in my head that they're like marathon. It's a race. It's a little bit overrated. I don't know. I don't know if they're overrated because I haven't experienced one yet. But I feel
But you're gonna
like
have a lot of fun. A lot of
yeah,
fun.
there's a lot of hype behind them. A lot of hype behind them. So I'm excited to try. Have you done any of the majors yet?
No, I don't do marathons, but my wife has done most all of them except for Tokyo, and so I get
You
to go
said you've
to
done 3.
3 marathons, not majors.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said I don't do. You just said I don't do marathons.
not anymore. No,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
10 years ago was my last marathon
Okay.
official.
Got it.
I've run a lot of distances. I've done 25 milers, 20s. I've done 120 miles in Colorado up some mountains in 6 days, things like that. But I've done 50Ks. So I've done stuff, but I don't really like to race marathons. It's just I like to race the halves and shorter distances and sometimes a little bit. For me, it's I don't know. I just don't like running that long, that fast.
Yeah.
too much pressure for me. It's like, I could do it, but I just don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, my wife's she's done her 13th Boston Marathon this April.
Wow.
And then she's done New York once or twice. She's done Chicago 2 or 3 times. She's done Berlin. She's done London. And Tokyo, I don't know what she wants to do. We'll see. But so I get to go to them, take videos and pictures and stuff. But
Yeah.
I'll have to do the 5Ks and stuff. All right. You're going to do New York. You're ready, or you will be ready. It's coming up. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
Trust
for
me, you're going to
sure.
love it. You going with anybody, friends or anything? Anybody coming with you?
Yeah, there are a few people from Run It Up who are coming along, and one of my
Awesome.
friends lives in New York. She's not running it, but she'll be there to cheer me on, and I'll be staying with her, so I'm looking forward to that.
You're going to have a blast. So let's talk a little bit about running up since I told you would come back to that. So let's do that. So right now you're the trainer, or I guess you put training plans together, and tell me more about that.
Yeah, so my official title is a run captain and training director. I develop the training plans for all distances. I have the advanced and beginner, advanced, and intermediate training plans for almost every distance. I gather the people and teach them how to run, I explain things related to running. For instance, in the training guide, I describe all the different types of runs that are included in the training plan and offer resources for like mobility workouts or different single leg workouts for runners. So just really being a source of information, which I'm a professor, so that comes naturally to me.
A good teacher.
Yeah, yeah. So basically teaching people things, but also what's different about and that's very natural to me. What's different about my role in Run It Up and what was a challenge that now is like a superpower for me is engaging and motivating people. So I'd run by myself for so long. I never really needed that aspect. Like running has been so intrinsic for me. But what I realize is that people need motivation, and people who are new to running, it can feel defeating a lot of times.
It's hard.
And yeah, yeah. One thing that I do is I take the time to explain things at a level that they understand for new runners. I create training plans with their needs and their abilities in mind. So people who like couch to 5K or that group, I develop training plans and also training programs for beginner runners and even some more advanced runners, not the super, super fast people. They a lot of them have their own coaches anyway, but the training plans that I have are applicable to them. They can modify them, add to them or whatever. But it's a solid base for even advanced runners. So the motivation and the engagement aspect is something that I have been able to tackle through Run It Up. Just psychological side of running outside of the physical.
I like that because what you're telling me is what I already know, but what I always preach is the power of community. One, but you need leaders like yourself and Theo and all the other folks that are doing stuff with Running Up to help those people along that might need it. I think it's the power of definitely leadership, but the community in itself is really what helps to engage those people because you can go find a plan on your own anywhere, but you can't find a plan that people are going to be there for you every step of the way to guide you, help you, run with you sometimes, and call you out when you need to be called out and things like that. Come
And
on, you can
20
do
other
it.
and 20 other people doing the same thing at the same time as you. No,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, that
Nothing like
community
that.
aspect.
And I think
Yeah.
that community is key at the end of the day. And to me, what Running Up has created is phenomenal. And I told Theo this is a lot of time running is big in Dallas, Fort Worth, period. There's a lot of running groups. There's literally like 50 or 60 groups in Dallas, Fort Worth area. And, most of those running groups for a long time have been like, I'm just going to say it, like white communities, white running communities. I'm not saying you wouldn't have people of color that come, but a lot of times there are 2 or 3 people and you just didn't see a large group of African Americans running. And so what you guys have created is just awesome. I was like, okay, and I love what you're doing. And so I think it's just pretty cool. And you guys have fun partying. And from what I could tell, I gotta come. I gotta come to one of your group. I told him I would. And like, he goes, yeah, on Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever the days it is, we run 2 or 3 miles and that's it. But there's all this music, people partying, doing fun things. And I'm like, dude, like, this is why they have 80,000 people on their Instagram and all these people showing up to their runs because it's fun.
Yeah, that
It's a
and
great community.
the shirtless photos of it.
Yeah. And I tell Theo, I go, all these sexy people are like people with their shirts off, these very beautiful people in general. And I'm just like, that's what attracts people. I did tell him, I go, some people see that as, oh, people are just looking at, I was like, so what? Even if they are, like, they're being healthy about it. They're running, lifting weight. They're all kinds of stuff. There
No,
was part of, I don't know.
I feel like the aura around Run It Up is like the most perfect bait and switch. How come you're gonna see these beautiful people and then you come and we're running?
Yeah.
Like we're
That's a
actually
fun group.
running. And you keep coming and you keep running. And the next thing you know, oh, I'm gonna do a 5K. Oh, I'm gonna do a 10K. I'm gonna do the half. Oh, I'm gonna do a full. They fall
That's
into
right.
the trap. And it's they develop a love for the sport outside of the glitz and glam or the Instagram stuff. So we kind of reel people in with the
Love it.
Instagram and we get them into running. And it is really radical what we're doing because you don't see a lot of black and brown people moving their bodies, especially not running. You may see more of them in the gym, but even at races, you go to races and you don't see a lot of us. We're not on the definitely not on the podium. And that's what I'm looking for moving forward is to take our training to the next level, to have a bigger presence on podiums in bigger events because we have the ability, we have talent in Run It Up. We have some amazing runners. And again, they need the
They need to develop.
running is a new sport. Right. They need the guidance, they need the structure, they need the training, and they need to know that they can. And I feel like from my story with ZFT and the whole experience was you need to see it hits different when you see people who look like you doing it. And that's what we bring is we run together. I'm doing a marathon. Why aren't you? So that's the beauty of community. And it's yes, we do build teammates. We build people that we run with that push us, but we also build friendships. So many friendships and relationships have grown from Run It Up. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons for that is because you have these people who are coming together for a common cause that is good for them. You
Yep,
know, you're trying
I
to
do.
improve yourself. I'm trying to improve myself. And we have this shared experience that's very meaningful and productive for us both. I think a lot of professionals, especially our age, like millennials, we're focused on getting our lives in order. We don't have a whole lot of time for frivolous activities. So this is a way to socialize and do something good for yourself, do something
Yeah,
productive.
healthy.
And that really resonates with people. And it's better than going out or smoking hookah or not that there's
Exactly.
anything wrong with doing that, but you can do this too. And it's another avenue for people who aren't into that.
Man, that was good.
Thank you.
I love that. I can't say that any better because I completely agree with you. And what you guys are doing is amazing to me. I've got to come out. I think I'm going to try to come out in the next week or two just to hang out, maybe run a couple miles with you guys just to fun. But is there anything that I missed that, I should have, that I didn't cover that you wish I would have covered?
There's one thing that I'd like to touch on, and it has
Yeah.
to do with Run It Up. One of the things that I appreciate most about this experience, about being run captain for Run It Up and just involved with the leadership team is the creativity that we have to morph and create new things. So like for instance, with Run It Up, we have the Run Group, but also the Run It Up Foundation. And with that, we're building different health clinics. We're doing cardiovascular screenings. We're doing health literacy, financial literacy programs, mental health events, different ways to support the Black community here, really targeting some things that are really plaguing our communities or some things that are really hard to overcome. And we're using our motion as an organization to make a difference in those arenas. So one of the programs that I spearheaded was called Get Off the Couch. It was like a couch to 5K program. And we had them complete a survey at several points, like every week. It was a 6-week program and they had to complete the same survey. And we saw significant reductions in weight. The weight and also the amount of time that they were working out and the distance that they were able to run. But what was most resounding to me were the changes in how they viewed themselves. This group was primarily women. And at first they were like, I don't like who I see when I look in the mirror. I want to feel confident in my body. I want to feel like I can accomplish things. I want to feel more confident. And by the end, we asked one question that asked, how confident do you feel in your ability to complete the workouts this week? They would be around 1 or 2 at the beginning, up to 8 and 9 towards the end. The end results were I did not think that I could accomplish this. And you guys showed me something new about myself. I'm a new person because of this. It's like
Mm.
literally life changing. And so I love that we're able to use our platform to touch real people and to make real change on individual and group levels. So yeah, it's truly a blessing. It's a blessing to be a part of the organization and to be a hand that's shaping it.
And now you guys are taking running to a different level and to new heights, just with health and people feeling better about themselves. And I think in general, running does that for a lot of people. But by calling that out, saying it, and making an effort to push that, to show that. And that data is truly amazing. And wow, it's been really good. So, Netta, this has been really good. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel. Don't forget to rate and review us, and make sure to go to dfwrunningtalk.substack.com to get our newsletter and sign up there. Netta, thanks again for coming.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
You're welcome.